Hi everyone and happy holidays. Welcome to the Stitch Sessions. I hope you guys have been enjoying the holiday season so far. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a Merry Christmas. And if you don't celebrate, I hope that you have been able to use this time to catch up on some rest and rejuvenation. No matter if you celebrate Christmas or not, this time of year just generally can be pretty stressful. Just wrapping things up for the end of the year and all of that fun stuff. So, speaking of end of the year, this is why I'm here today. We are in between Christmas and New Year's, and I do my annual year in review of our crochet series. So for 2023, we did Pillow Talk. Now this was such a super fun series to do. I love all of my series, but I don't know what it was about the pillows. They were just really fun and I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but they were just so lighthearted. There was a levity about working on those projects. Last year we did Shall We Crochet, which was an enjoyable series, but crocheting shawls and coming up with different shawl designs every month, that took a little bit of time. So I definitely felt a little bit more, not stressed, but a little bit more under the gun of creating the design and then crocheting it. So shawls take a little bit more time, but we did create some fabulous shawls. And if you missed that series from 2022, I'll make sure to leave a link for it in the description box down below. But today we are talking about 2023 Pillow Talk. So every month we did a pillow project. So we're just going to get right to it. And of course, if you missed any of these projects or if you missed this series entirely, I'll also leave a link to that playlist down below. And by the way, if you're new here, my name is Karen and I really enjoy sharing my love of crochet with you guys and using crochet in many different ways. So I love to craft with anything to do with crochet. Hence this year's crochet series. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's get started. And by the end of this video, I will let you in on which pillow project was my absolute favorite. I'm sure many of you that follow along with me regularly, you know the answer to this right away. But if you don't, I'd be curious to see what your answers are. Leave it for me in the comment box down below. Which pillow project do you think was my favorite? And in fact, let me know which one was your favorite. All right, let's get started with January's pillow project. So for January, we did the Up in the Clouds pillow. And actually, I happen to have it right here. And this is so just cushy and divine, and I just love it. I would say, I'm pretty confident in saying this is probably the easiest pillow project in the whole series. It's just created by crocheting one long rectangle and then folding it into this really cool envelope design. And then we seamed up two sides and then put some buttons here for the envelope, and you're off to the races. We created this using the linked single crochet stitch. I've really grown to love that stitch a lot. Those of you that saw this year's Christmas cardigan, you know that I used that stitch for that project. I just think it gives a really pretty texture and it creates a little bit of a denser fabric as well. Now, as much as we all love velvet yarn, chenille yarns, they just feel so great. The thing I'm not crazy about when it comes to those yarns is they're not really great for stitch definition. So you can, if you're looking at doing something intricate, I wouldn't choose that type of yarn. And especially if you're a beginner crocheter, because it's a little bit tricky to see the stitches. Now, I did use, I believe it was the Chenille Home yarn for this project. And I think the linked single crochet stitch was perfect because you can see just enough definition and yet keeping it nice and simple. So Up in the Clouds, a pillow, this was January's project. Okay, so now moving on to February's project, we had the pinwheel pillow, which I have to say right out of the gate, this one was a front runner for my favorite pillow project. I just loved how the design came out. I liked the color combinations that I chose and just kind of coming up with the simplicity of taking right angle triangles and configuring them into this really neat design. So this pillow was constructed using triangular motifs, as I said, to create one panel, and then you repeated the same thing for the second panel. You then sew the two panels together and put a zipper closure. This was the first time I did a zipper closure on a pillow in this series, and from there I created the separate video on how you can sew in or hand sew a zipper closure to any of your crochet projects. And I know a lot of you found that really useful and helpful, so I made it a separate video so you can refer to that for any project. It didn't have to be a pillow. And of course, that'll be linked in the description box down below. In fact, I think it's also part of the Pillow Talk Crochet series playlist, so you'll probably find it in there as well. All right, let's go on to March's pillow. For March, we had the seedling pillow. Now this one was kind of interesting because I combined crochet with fabric and kind of getting crafty with a pillowcase. So I went to the thrift store and I found these beautiful linen pillowcases that I really wasn't going to use as bed pillows, but I definitely wanted to use them in some fashion. So the seedling pillow was created by crocheting a panel for one side and then hand sewing it to the existing pillow and cutting out the top part so we can also create it as an envelope closure. And so all I did was I cut basically the top half, but only one side. It's kind of hard to explain. You'll have to watch the tutorial to see what I mean. But all I did is I then took that long flap and I tucked it inside the pillow. So it was a different version of the envelope closure. And I think it just created this really just lovely effect. I like doing two-tone pillows or two different sided pillows. I think it gives you more versatility for how you use it in your decor. So we used the seedling stitch for this pillow, and that's why I called it the seedling pillow. Some people also call it the mini basket weave stitch. So it's just kind of alternating your front post double crochet and back post double crochet. So really, again, using very simple basic stitches like the double crochet, and all we did was kind of leveled it up a little bit by talking about front posts and back posts. So for those of you, again, going to the beginner crocheters, if you're really comfortable with your double crochet stitch and you kind of just followed along slowly, this pillow was a great introduction to working on front posts and back posts to add a little bit of texture to your pillows or any project that you want to do. And as spring was coming along, I thought this was the perfect kind of theme for March, calling it the seedling pillow. And we used a nice big firm pillow, and I think it just came out really pretty. So it's got the seedling texture on one side, and then on the other side it had that beautiful linen fabric with the embroidery on it. And I think it just kind of gave it this really beautiful touch to the decor, and especially because I have a couple of velvet, dark blue velvet chairs, it just kind of fit perfectly. So that was the seedling pillow for March. Okay, so moving on to April, we're getting into spring and the Easter season. Now, I used some scrap yarns that I had lying around. Well, not really scraps. I had quite a bit of this yarn left around with all these fun spring colors. And you definitely know I wasn't going to do a pillow series without kind of talking about the granny square motif. Come on, I know my people. I know how much my crochet friends love granny squares and granny motifs. So this one I would say would be the next easiest pillow design. We basically took the granny square motif and we just kept crocheting it until it was large enough to cover a pillow. Now this particular pillow I used was a smaller pillow. It was a 12-inch square pillow. And just to create some interest for Easter and spring, I used the yellow, the pink, and the green alternatively. So every row had a different color. And then once I reached my desired size, I folded it over and then I used a ribbon to tie the four corners together in the center to create a bow. So this made it really versatile. So you can have the bow showing on one side, or if you flip it over to the other side, you can see the beautiful granny square motif, the traditional granny square motif. The other thing too is you could also just untie the bow. This would have been actually a fantastic baby gift now that I think about it, because this would have been great as a pillow for a child's room. And in fact, I created this for my niece's bedroom. But for a baby, you could give this as a gift. So it could be a pillow, but then they can pull the ribbon and it's a car seat blanket because it was just the perfect size for this. The other alternative you could have done, instead of the bow like I did, you could have actually just sewn in those seams and made that pillow permanent. I chose not to do that just because, again, I like the versatility of having things change, but a lot of different options there, and I just thought it was a really sweet, cute design, and again, pretty straightforward and simple. All right, moving into the month of May. Again, we're getting further into spring. Mother's Day is around the corner, so I just kind of wanted to keep things fresh and bright and using these lovely spring colors. So again, I had a lot of this yellow, some of the green left over, and I used some white as well. And this was the Lulu pillow. This is the first time we are talking about a round-shaped pillow. And many of you who've seen my Sweet Pea pillow, that's actually one of my other favorites. That was my favorite pillow for a long time. It's still right up there. So that one was done in the round, and the Lulu pillow was also created in the round. So we started in the center and worked our way out. Now I called it the Lulu pillow because we used the loop stitch, which is so fun. And basically, if you know your single crochets, you can do this stitch. It does get a little finicky because you got to pull the loop up tall and hold it so you can cinch it in place. But really, you do this stitch enough times in this project that by the end of it, you are just a professional loop stitch crocheter. So again, alternately on each side, I did the colorway slightly different. So on one side, I dominated it more with the yellow, and on the other side, I dominated it with the green. And you guys know me, you know that if I run out of yarn and I have just a little bit left, I am not gonna go and get a whole new skein. It drives me crazy. So I just made do with some white yarn that I had as well. And I still think it came out great. Remember, this is your art, so you can just make it what you like. So that was the Lulu pillow, a rounded pillow, and I did use a zipper closure in that one. So not only was it a round shape, but I did use a zipper closure for this pillow. And it was just done creating, again, 2 panels, and then we sewed it together to create the pillow. And we put your insert, and you are good to go. Okay, so now we're getting into summer. We're getting into June. And for June's pillow, we did the Mediterranean pillow. Now, this one was really exciting for me to make because this is one of the first pillows that we're using motifs. So instead of just crocheting panels right off the bat, we're creating our motifs first and then sewing them together to create our pillow. And this excited me because the floor tiles in my bathroom are generally known as the Greek weave, and for years I've been thinking this would look really cool in a crochet kind of granny motif. So I started off by figuring out how to create that design, and I actually created a separate tutorial just on that motif, so you could do anything you wanted with the motif. Just so happens I used it to create the pillow. So once I figured out how to create that Greek weave design, I then sewed them together to create one panel. And then I did it for a second panel and I sewed them together. Now for this pillow, we actually used a rectangular shape. So throughout the series, I kind of did experiment with different shapes of pillows as well. So this one was a rectangular shape, and I did some kind of fun little embellishments by creating some tassels and adding them on the corner there. And of course I called it the Mediterranean pillow because the design was a Greek weave, and I just thought reminded me of being, you know, on the island of Corfu on a beautiful summer day. And so we used the traditional, what I associate being the traditional Greek colors of blue and white. So that was a really fun one to do. It was kind of fun to see my idea kind of come to fruition and work pretty well. I probably would have used a more consistent medium 4-weight yarn. The yarn I used was slightly lighter weight in feel, which was okay being a summer pillow. But I think if I had done it in a medium 4-weight yarn that had just a little bit more sustenance to it, the design would have looked a little bit firmer. So that's the only thing I would say about that. So let's move on to July, my favorite month of the year, which is my birthday month. So for the month of July, I just loved, and I have it right here, we did the Jubilee pillow. And of course, I did one colorway on one side, and then I reversed it on the other side. Now, this one was so fun to do because it was, again, a motif project, and it was just kind of using the offset granny motif. And so it was just the basic granny square, but I tried to figure out how to make the square in the center kind of tilt to make it look like a diamond. Now, there is a granny diamond motif, and that's different than the offset granny because the diamond motif just stays diamond-like the whole way through. This motif was created so that the center stayed as a diamond, but then the rest was a square. So for those of you that saw that pillow project, you know what I'm talking about. And I used, again, the smaller 12-inch square pillow, zipper closure, and once you've created the motifs, to create one panel, then you'd create a second panel, sew them together, put your zipper in. You're getting the gist of these zipper closures. I found myself really enjoying, believe it or not, doing more zipper closures. I just find for everyday maintenance, they're really easy to, take pillow inserts in and out. The envelope closure is too, but I think what I really got excited about is how I was able to crochet the edge or the opening of the zipper closure and hide it in there. And I was just so proud of myself. And so this particular pillow, really, I was just like, wow, I love doing this. So anyway, I get excited over silly little things like that, but I really enjoyed doing that one for sure. So let's move on to August's project. We are trucking along here. So for August project, this one was so good. This was the Ocean Waves pillow. Now this one was also a rectangular shape, just like the Mediterranean pillow. And I used motifs again as well, but I kind of color blocked it in strips. And the stitch I used for this was the, it's actually called the diamond stitch, funny enough. I've seen it also called the honeycomb stitch. And for me, I've always known it as the honeycomb stitch. And in fact, the honeycomb stitch is what I created this movie night blanket with. Many of you will remember this from, I think, last holiday season. So this is the stitch I used. And in this particular example, I have it as a blanket. But I decided to create strips of it to crochet it as a pillow, and it came out so, so lovely. So I had this color combination of like a teal and an aqua color, and I think those two colors together just came out great. It was very summery to me, and therefore that's why I named it the Ocean Waves pillow. And then of course I color blocked it with some white in between, and I just thought it came out really, really cool. This is what I love about crochet, is you can really but again, with any art form, you can really just experiment and see what you like, what tickles your fancy. So, I think back, there was a time when crochet was only like, your grandmother's doilies, which, by the way, I have inherited some amazing crochet from my mother recently, as well as my grandmother, which I'm actually going to do a haul on very soon, because the intricacy in the artwork is incredible. And it's funny, when you're a kid, you don't always appreciate the artistry in your own family. So, now as an adult and getting more into crochet myself, I'm just like over the moon that, there were so many creative and artistic women in my family. And I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you guys. That's actually going to be in an upcoming video not too far from now. But anyway, I digress. So that was the Ocean Waves pillow, and that was for August. Now let's talk about September's pillow. By the way, have you been able to figure out which pillow so far is, or has been, my favorite pillow to work on in this series? Make sure to drop it for me in the comment box down below, and you'll find out if you're right at the end of this video. Okay, for September's pillow, this one was another one actually that I kind of had stewing in my mind, and I thought I need to figure out how to do this. This was the Sienna pillow, and I did really enjoy working on this one too. This was a swirl design, alternating colors, but using the mitered corner effect. So we have done a mitered granny square on this channel before, and I've also done a mitered rectangle square, and based on the views, you guys went crazy for that mitered crochet granny square, as well as the rectangle. You guys love your granny motifs. So I thought, well, how can I use this in a different way? And so I was playing with the idea and playing with the idea until I came up with this idea of, if I can alternate the colors and use the mitering the corners every time, it would give me this swirl-like effect, but in a square pillow on top of that. Like, talk about, you know, brain explosion trying to figure this out. But I finally did, and I had this beautiful kind of burnt rustic reddy color, and I contrasted it with the white. In fact, the colorway that I used for this pillow, I had used this yarn before, and I used it in the dragon tail shawl from last year's crochet series, and I also used it in the super simple Christmas stockings that I did last year, I believe. I don't know what it is about this color. I think the way it gradiates and it changes, I think it's just so beautiful. So that is the color I used for this pillow. So I created that swirl, creating one panel, did a second panel, and for the closure, you guessed it, a zipper closure. And then for that one, I actually added this fun little kind of pointed scalloped edge around it, and I just think it just added a little something to it. I just loved it. So that was September's pillow, the Sienna pillow. Okay, moving along. Oh my goodness, moving along to October's pillow. So the pillow that was meant to look like a pumpkin ended up being a little bit more like an acorn. So this is the kind of fun and funny things that happen when you're trying to work out a project. And it was supposed to be a pumpkin pillow, and it ended up being an acorn poof. And actually, I have it right here, and it ended up being perfect because I use it as a footrest, and this is fantastic. So this is the design on the front, and again, same on the back. It's just that I had these two different shades of this color, which I thought was very autumn-like and perfect for fall. And my idea for this was to use the Jacob's ladder stitch, and that's just creating a lot of chain loops and then weaving them in together. It creates this really cool braided-like effect. And many years ago, I had crocheted a Jacob's ladder pumpkin, which actually I never did do a tutorial on it, but it's one of the first free written patterns on the Crochet Crafty website. So I don't know what I was thinking. I think I was experimenting at the time, and I had crocheted the pillow, and then I had written the pattern at that time. So this was kind of my way of trying to get into showing you how I crocheted the pumpkin. But so then I stuffed it with a lot of old towels. This is also a big, it's not really a secret, but it's a little kind of hint or hack that I have. I never throw away like old socks, old underwear, dishcloths, towels, tea towels, all of that stuff. Like once it's kind of had its full wear, I just give them all a good wash and I store them. And then when stuffed projects like this come up, I use them to stuff the project. So sometimes I cut them in strips so that it makes them a little bit more malleable, and sometimes I don't. So this I used, I think, 2 or 3 bath towels, like old bath towels that I had, and it makes for a perfect poof. So this ended up being the acorn / pumpkin poof. So you can see it's very acorn-like. If it had kind of filled out a bit more, it would have looked more like a pumpkin, but you know what? It worked out the way it was supposed to. All right, so now let's move along to November. And so now is the moment of truth. So if you've been guessing in the comments which pillow project you think has been my absolutely, categorically, hands down, my favorite project to work on this year, then you would have been right if you guessed November's pillow. So November's pillow was the Wonderland pillow, and I have it right here. Oh. This is my favorite pillow project. So I love everything about it. It was the way this velvety chenille yarn came together. I just think it couldn't have worked out better if I planned it even more. So again, I had this idea of doing something to do with trees and Christmas trees, but it could be just simply very wintry. It doesn't have to be Christmassy. And in fact, I plan on keeping this around through the month of January. And just using very, very simple stitches. And really, it was crocheted this way. So these are just little V stitches here, but when turned upside down, they look like little pine trees. And then I just monogrammed the tree in the center and just use this beautiful kind of emerald green color. And you know me, on the back, it's just kind of reversed. And then I just kind of experimented with a slightly different tree shape. And I love the size. This is a 20-inch square pillow, and it just feels divine. And this is, again, one of the few times when velvet yarn really, really works, because I wasn't really trying to create too much texture. I was using really simplicity to just create a neat design, a neat look, but it does feel amazing. And everybody that comes into my place notices this pillow, and they always ask me, where did you get that pillow? It's so cute. And of course, I love to say that I made it. So that is the Wonderland pillow for November. And by the way, this was so popular that I actually managed to write out the written pattern for that, and it is in my Etsy shop. So you can find a link for that as well in the description box of this pillow project. So we have one more pillow to go, and that is the December pillow, and that was the candy stripe pillow. So this one, I have to say, I had also been kind of really planning this design for a while, but as it got closer and closer to December, and you know, time just goes quickly. Once we get through Halloween, like everything goes quickly. So I started to panic, like trying to get this design together, because I knew I wanted to do something with candy stripes. And I knew I wanted it to be kind of not in a traditional horizontal or vertical stripe. And so this is what gave me the idea to do it on an angle and to create it in the corner. So I took a simple design, but made it a little bit more interesting. And I kept this one pretty simple in the fact that I made both panels exactly the same. And then when I sewed them together, I love how those candy stripe colors matched just perfectly. And I kept the border really, really nice and simple. And I made this one a little smaller in size. This was a 12-inch square pillow. And I just thought it was a little nod to the Christmas season, but not being like over the top Christmassy. So I don't know, I'm kind of in a more, even though a lot of you guys know I love the Victorian themed Christmas decor, I do like just little hints of Christmas. I don't like it to be too over the top. Like, for example, the Christmas crochet cardigan that had a lot of stuff on it, but it was also meant to be an ugly Christmas sweater. So that was December's pillow, and that is the finale of this year's Pillow Talk crochet series. So I hope you guys enjoyed working on some of these projects. Let me know what ended up being your favorite pillow project of this year. And I know most of you are starting to think already, what does she have in store for 2024? And you're absolutely on the mark in thinking that, because I have been working on this upcoming year's crochet series. I think it's going to be really fun. I mean, I think they're all fun. So there's going to be a video coming out in just a few days with 2024's sneak peek in the crochet series for 2024. So if you're new here, every year I do a series. So I know a lot of people will do things like temperature blankets as a crochet along for the year. And although I actually really love watching all of those videos, I would have a million blankets. So I've opted to create themed series. So like this year was all about pillows and crocheting pillows. The year before that was Shawl We Crochet, where it was all about shawls. The year before that, I believe, was my Life's a Beach crochet series, where it was all beach related crochet. So I've got quite a few of those. So of course I'll leave a link to all those playlists down below. But in any case, there is going to be a sneak peek before January the 1st. So it's going to come out any day now. So you'll get a hint as to what the series is going to be for 2024 and a little heads up on some of the materials that you should get together for the very first one coming up the first Wednesday in January. Can you believe it? Crazy. Also, my goodness, I've been having these hot flashes lately. It is just killing me over here. If you guys have any hints or suggestions on how you deal with your hot flashes, let me know. I, for a while there, was using also a hot water bottle and just freezing it as a large ice block. And it worked great in the summertime, but of course you can't carry around a block of ice with you everywhere you go. But anyway, so I have this trusty fan that I have. And so if you see me kind of fanning myself, I'm not being dramatic, although I have been known for being dramatic. I'm just trying to stay cool. I'm just trying to stay cool. So anyhow, enough with that. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. And thank you as always for continuing to support the shenanigans here on the channel at The Stitch Sessions. It has been my absolute pleasure. I really love thinking up of different ideas and designs and projects for all of you guys. I like coming up with stuff for super beginners. I like to think that the projects I create are interesting enough for experienced crocheters, but give the newer crocheter a little bit of confidence and some excitement. I want you to feel like, oh my gosh, I can really do this, because that's what actually got me back into crochet. I used to crochet when I was a young kid, and then I dropped it for years and years and years. And then about 10 years ago, I got right back into it, and like with a vengeance. And it was because I started to kind of rediscover all the things that you can create with crochet, and just by taking strings and making things. All right, guys, that's it for today. Have a wonderful rest of the holiday season. Enjoy your time off if you're hopefully getting some time off to rest and rejuvenate. Remember to take good care of yourselves, right? Happy crocheting, of course, and I will see you in the next video, which will be the sneak peek for 2024. Oh, and by the way, if you are new and you're excited about hanging out with me, make sure to press that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a brand new video. And you can also come say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions, and make sure to tag me in any of the projects that you crochet. All right, guys, that's it for me today. I will see you guys again in just a few days. Bye-bye.